there'll be nobody left behind to grieve, and we will all go together when we go. What a comforting fact that is to know. Universal bereavement, an inspiring achievement. Yes, we all will go together when we go.
So, what are we gonna do today, Courier? Same thing we do every day. Try to kill Benny. But he's dead. We killed him. Oh. In that case... go fish?
Some of the slaves have been spreading stories about the burned man again.
In that case, can they tell me about it? Because I'm seriously bored now. Honestly, I didn't think this day would be possible. But I kind of wish I didn't kill Benny now. At least when he was still alive, I had shit to look forward to. Damn it, I knew I should have picked crucifixion. That way the enjoyment factor could have lasted at least a day or two. Maybe longer if I poked him in the nuts with a spear every time he's about to pass out. Hey, wait a minute. It is you! Wow, I didn't recognize you without something on your head.
I suspect you'll be a valuable asset to the Legion. Assuming you're really on our side, of course.
Well, keep guessing, buddy. Seriously, I have no idea, so if you have any incentives, you better lay them out soon. Actually, I'm surprised you're not out in the field burning down more settlements right now. Maybe the Legate takes the night shift? I hear he's quite ferocious, so I guess he can handle a flaming torch just as well.
To call Lanius ferocious would be an understatement. In battle, he seizes the enemy in his jaws and will not let go. He thinks nothing of suffering losses, so long as the enemy suffers more. Though unsubtle, he is not dim. He detects traps and sets his own. Be glad you will not have to face his judgment. If you are true to Caesar.
Hey, let's make something clear. I'm true to myself and the people waiting for me outside. You guys would be lucky if I placed you on number 3 or 4. The NCR didn't understand this, and that's why I'm here. But if it makes you sleep better at night, I can prove how true I am. Just point me in the right direction.
There's a gambler, Martina Grosbeck, who has a knack for learning other people's secrets and passing that information along for a price. The Omertas, who run Gomorrah, have become suspicious of Martina's frequent visits to their casino. Soon they'll pay her a visit of their own.
That's it? You want me to check up on her? Surely you can do that yourself. I know you could get in and out of the strip like you fucking own the place.
I prefer to handle these matters through intermediaries, such as yourself.
Intermediary? That's a new one, I have to say. Maybe you weren't paying attention, but I just blew up an underground facility in the name of the great Caesar. I don't know what your definition of a death machine is exactly, but I think I'm at least 2 degrees above that. So, why should I reduce myself to running errands for you?
Besides the gratitude of the Legion? Don't worry. You'll be paid in coin or caps.
Well, you certainly know how to make a decent argument. But I'm warning you, this is the first and last time I run errands for the Legion. If it turns out working with you guys is no different than working with the NCR, then I'm just gonna leave.
Good. Martina frequents the Vault 21 gift shop on the Strip. Hurry along, and she still may be in one piece by the time you get there.
Well, if she knew how to keep her mouth shut, then she wouldn't be in this mess. I'll do this in my own time, thank you very much. And yes, I know you're judging me right now. Well, you can do everyone a favor and keep your opinions to yourself.
Some of the slaves have been spreading stories about the burned man again.
Yeah, I wonder why. You guys won't shut up about him. Guess where I first heard that name? It wasn't from a slave, I can tell you that much. Whoa, hold on a minute. What have he got in here? I assume this must be Caesar's personal quarters, and he's got a computer terminal? At least, I think that's a computer terminal. Are you supposed to control it with your whole body or something? Either way, the monitor is facing the wrong direction. Seriously, mixing guns with Roman soldiers is already weird enough, but now I see you're not even trying. Can you please just make up your mind whether you're gonna embrace technology or not? Oh, I'm sorry, was I interrupting? I'll just let you go back to reading in the dark. Who needs light bulbs when you have night vision, right? Oh, wait.
It is a great honor for anyone outside the Legion to get an audience with Caesar.
That's what you guys keep telling me, but forgive my capacity for independent thought, but so far I don't feel all that honored. At least you get to sit in his personal tent, and you're not even his second in command, are you?
No. Legate Lanius is Caesar's second. The Legate replaced the burned man after the Legion's defeat at the dam several years ago.
Oh yes, he who must not be named. Except at this point I feel like I already know everything about him. Great job suppressing that information, by the way. You might as well give me the full story now.
The burned man was Caesar's advisor and general when the Legion was originally formed. The burned man led us to a disastrous defeat at the dam. On Caesar's orders, the burned man was covered in pitch by the Praetorian Guard, lit on fire, and cast into the Grand Canyon. Caesar has forbidden us from ever speaking his true name again. And so we simply refer to him as the Burned Man.
You see what I mean? You were just bursting to tell me all that, weren't you? I'll bet I can figure out his true name before the night is done. I don't understand why you're so touchy about the whole thing anyway. You do have a new legate now, and apparently he's the twin of Satan.
He's the best warrior in the Legion. A full legionary by the time he was 12, he's never lost a battle. Had the legate been in command during the Battle of Hoover Dam, the Legion would have won. I have no doubt about that.
I think you should focus more on the next battle, in which case we'll see how good he is, won't we? So who are you then, Caesar's number 3 or something? God knows how many people you killed to get here. You guys all seem to have the backstory anyway, involving a lot of blood and guts.
When I was a boy, the Legion conquered my tribe. I was chosen for training as a legionary. I fought in many battles for the Legion. Eventually, Caesar chose me to lead his Praetorian Guard. It was a great honor.
Like I said, blood and guts. I can only assume the rest of your tribe was not that fortunate.
The girls and women were enslaved, and many of the men and boys were also chosen to become legionaries. The rest were killed.
Oh yes, and it must have been a tremendous honor to fight for the people who either enslaved or murdered everyone you cared about. This is where I really start to question whether you guys went through some kind of lobotomy or not.
We were savages. The Legion raised us up, made us better than what we were.
And what you are right now is being defensive, which really tells me a lot. They raised you up from being savages? Ha! You went from fighting with stone axes to fighting with rusty lawnmower blades. Or should I be calling them rusty machetes?
Caesar has taught us that over-reliance on firearms can only weaken us in the long run. It's why we train heavily with our blades and our fists. Unlike an NCR trooper, a legionary is always ready to fight, regardless of the circumstance he finds himself in.
Ah, yes. Allow me to educate you there. What you just said is exactly what bad excuses sound like. And let's assume he's right about this. What the fuck are you gonna do when you have to fight in the open? Those NCR troopers would wipe the floor with you.
The NCR Rangers are the biggest threat. Without them, the NCR is nothing.
Oh, I wasn't even gonna mention those guys, but now that you have, consider this. If the NCR military is so worthless, and believe me, they really are, then how did you lose the first battle of Hoover Dam? How crap does that make you guys look in comparison?
We had the numbers, but not the tactics. I know. I was there at Boulder City when we were defeated. We relied too much on veteran legionaries for direction and leadership. And the Rangers exploited our weakness by killing our best from afar.
Then for your sake, I hope you wear a better helmet on that day. Or better yet, just stay in a trench somewhere and let your men take the bullets for you. I'm sure you have spares. Just look at all the tents you have set up.
And just about every one of them is occupied. Not all at the same time, usually. Groups of legionaries come and go all the time. This is also only one camp of many. You might have noticed the other camps down by the river.
Oh yes, in fact I wiped out one of those not too long ago, but that doesn't make for a polite conversation right now. If superior numbers didn't help you last time, I doubt it would make a difference the next time.
We recently obtained an artillery weapon, but we don't have the part or the skill to fix it.
Yeah, that's a terrible shame. Although, to be honest, I heard those things are not the most reliable ones out there. Apparently they have a nasty habit of exploding for no apparent reason. Where did you get it anyway?
The trader Dale Barton salvaged it from a military base in Arizona. Yuma, I believe.
Well, you might want to have a little chat with him, because I'm not sure he's being honest with his intentions there. And hell, even if it's not the model I'm thinking of, he still sold you a piece of shit that doesn't work. Then again, why would you guys even need something like this if guns will only make you weaker?
The best marksmen of the NCR are usually at the rear of any battle. The gun will allow us to strike at them.
And once again, you're being inconsistent with your attitude towards technology. Just admit you're being irrational already. You're fooling no one. So what are you gonna do with that thing? It's just a worthless pile of scrap metal right now.
The tribe calling themselves the Boomers is obsessed with such weapons, I've been told. You can probably find a spare firing mechanism there.
Okay, let's just review that sentence and make some minor adjustments, shall we? It's not I can. It's more like I might do it if the rewards are worth it and you're not gonna be a fucking asshole if things doesn't work. Maybe you should get your English sorted out before you move on to something more exotic.
Wale.
I'm glad we agree. Now, if we can pull Caesar's head out of his own backside for a moment, maybe he will understand too. As much as I like my reputation as a force of nature, people tend to forget that there's a brain behind all the murdering too. You think I got to where I am today just by shooting things? Anyone who doesn't appreciate my other abilities are either dead or will be fairly soon.
I'm sure you found Benny's demise pleasing. The destruction of an enemy? There are few things more satisfying. Let's press on, shall we? As I was telling you before, I want Mr. House out of the picture. You have an interest in his death, too. If he knows that you destroyed his gadgets beneath the fort, he will strike back. You know where to find him. How he dies, I leave up to you.
And that of course means you don't have to put any effort into planning for that little operation. How convenient. But while we're here, you want to explain to me what that little gadget of yours is back there? Seems like House isn't the only one with special toys.
It's called an autodoc. As the name suggests, it's an automated physician, more or less. He can treat broken bones, cuts, punctures, scrapes. Sometimes I bestow its use upon someone I favor. Makes for a powerful gift in a culture that forbids painkillers and is largely ignorant of medical science.
Holy Christ, you're not even trying to hide the hypocrisy, are you? That confused gentleman in the back honestly believes that technology will weaken him while you're out here pointing out all the bullshit you've been spouting for God knows how long. This legion of yours makes no sense to me whatsoever.
I used Imperial Rome as the model for my legion precisely because it was so foreign, so alien. I'd seen what had become of the NCR's attempts to emulate the culture of pre-war America, the infighting, the corruption. Rome was a highly militarized autocracy that effectively integrated the foreign cultures it conquered. It dedicated its citizens to something higher than themselves, to the idea of Rome itself. In Rome, I found a template for a society equal to the challenges of the post-apocalyptic world, a society that could and would survive, a society that could prevent mankind from fracturing and destroying itself in this new world by establishing a new Pax Romana.
Pax Romana? Ha! Sounds like a brand of cheap cigarettes. Well, I have no idea what that means, and something tells me you don't either.
It means a nationalist, imperialist, totalitarian, homogenous culture that obliterates the identity of every group it conquers. Long-term stability at all cost. The individual has no value beyond his utility to the state, whether as an instrument of war or production.
Yeah, tell me that again when you become senile and bedridden. Oh wait, you probably wouldn't remember when that happens. Well, that list of drivel you just delivered sounds like it was written specifically to counter the belief of the NCR. Do you hate them so much you have to invent all that just to justify their destruction? You sound like a bitter spouse.
No. I'll destroy it because it's inevitable that it be destroyed. It's Hegelian dialectics, not personal animosity.
Oh, for the love of God, more made-up phrases. Look, if you're gonna do that, can you at least come up with something that has less syllables than a complex molecule?
How do I put this basically enough? It's a philosophical theory, the kind you might encounter if you took time to read some books. The fundamental premise is to envision history as a sequence of dialectical conflicts. Each dialectic begins with a proposition, a thesis, which inherently contains or creates its opposite, an antithesis. Thesis and antithesis. The conflict is inevitable, but the resolution of the conflict yields something new, a synthesis, eliminating the flaws in each, leaving behind common elements and ideas.
First off, I read books, okay? I wouldn't even try to explain to you what a resonance cascade is, for example. It would blow your tiny little mind. In any case, you've got some balls to think your ideas are somehow a foolproof counter to the NCR.
The bombs wiped the slate clean. Human civilization descended to a level of ignorance that effectively set our cultural progress back to zero. The NCR has all the problems of the ancient Roman Republic. Extreme bureaucracy, corruption, extensive senatorial infighting. Just as with the ancient Republic, it is natural that a military force should conquer and transform the NCR into a military dictatorship. Thesis and antithesis. The Colorado River is my Rubicon. The NCR Council will be eradicated, but the new synthesis will change the Legion as well. From a basically nomadic army to a standing military force that protects its citizens. And the power of its dictator.
I don't know, man. You're blending two very different things together without so much as a fucking recipe book. It might become an abomination even you won't recognize. And the power of the dictator? Who the fuck are you? What did you do to deserve this power?
Ironically, I was born a profligate myself, a citizen of the NCR. My family lived not far from the Great Boneyard. After raiders killed my father, my mother sought the followers' protection. I was 2 years old. She found work at their library, cooking and cleaning. I learned how to read, and soon I was taking courses, free of charge.
Speaking of which, I don't think they're gonna invite you to their Christmas parties anytime soon. I guess Arcade wasn't lying. You really were one of them. I can only assume you fell asleep during most of those classes.
Oh yes, raised in that tradition. And the teaching stuck. I was taught it was my responsibility to bring the torch of knowledge to the waste. I may have taken the torch part more literally than they intended.
You see, I would actually laugh if it turns out you did all this just to make that joke. But you're actually serious, which I find infinitely funnier. So, go on then, what changed? Did some tribal girl reject you or something? I've killed for pettier things than that.
When I was 20, the followers sent me east to Grand Canyon. It was my first expedition. Just me and a physician named Calhoun. As an anthropologist and linguist, my assignment was to learn the dialects of the Grand Canyon tribes. What a fucking waste of time.
Well, maybe you should have lodged a complaint form like everyone else. And why was that a waste of time anyway? Sounds like a paid vacation.
If you think it's worthwhile to make smart people learn how to talk like backward savages, you're a follower of the apocalypse. Or an idiot. Anyway, we met up with a Mormon missionary who already knew a bunch of dialects. Joshua Graham. He was supposed to teach me. But before that went too far, the Blackfoot tribe captured us to hold us for ransom. They were a backward bunch. But the real problem was, they didn't know how to fight.
Well, how did you get captured then? God damn, your legionaries keep talking about being superior fighters. I thought their leader must be some kind of superhuman. Turns out you're like the rest of us. So go on then, why was that a problem?
The Blackfoot were at war with 7 other tribes, each just as pissant as they were. But outnumbered like that, they weren't going to last long. It's one thing to be taken hostage, another to be lashed to a sinking ship. So over Calhoun's objections, I decided to take certain steps.
By murdering them all in their sleep. Now that I can believe.
I taught them how to use the guns they already had, how to strip and clean them, how to breathe when pulling a trigger, how to reload ammunition. They looked at me like I was some kind of a sorcerer. So I taught them how to make explosives and started drilling them on small unit tactics. If there's anything I learned as a follower of the apocalypse, it's that there's a lot of good information in old books.
And now you spend your time teaching people the opposite. There's a special place in hell reserved for hypocrites like you. If not, there should be. Well, I can only assume it worked, to nobody's surprise.
Divide et impera. Divide and conquer. I led the Blackfoot against the Ridgers, their weakest enemy. When they refused to surrender, I ordered every man, woman, and child killed. When next we surrounded the Kaibabs, and they likewise refused, I took one of their envoys to the Ridgers' village and showed him the corpse piles. This was new for the tribes, you see. They played at war, raiding each other, a little rape and pillage here, a little ransoming there. I showed them total warfare. Like I said, there's a lot you can learn from old books.
Well, it's a hell of a leap to go from teaching them how to use their weapons to teaching them how to be barbarians. And yes, I am saying your teachings made them true savages. You didn't jump off a slippery slope. You jumped off a cliff and kept digging once you reached the bottom. So this is how it began, is it?
Kaibabs joined me, and the Fredonians after that. All the pissant tribes with names that should be forgotten. I knew from the start I'd need to eradicate this plague of tribal identities, replacing them with a monolithic culture, a uniform identity. So that's what I did, once my confederation of tribes was large enough. I crowned myself Caesar and created a single great tribe, my legion. I sent Calhoun, the follower captured with me, back west with a message that I should not be interfered with. Joshua Graham, the Mormon interpreter, stayed with me and served as my first legatus.
And just like that, you couldn't reverse the momentum. You had to keep going until you smashed your face against a brick wall. Where have I heard this story before? Oh yes, from every other would-be dictators like yourself. And just like them, you are super proud of all this, aren't you?
That's right. Decades of warfare, absorbing lesser tribes, gathering power, forging the dross into a vast, razor-sharp scythe. My legion's expansion has never ceased. Much of the Utah and Colorado and all of Arizona and New Mexico are mine. We have cities of our own, but nothing compared to Vegas. Finally, my legion will have its Rome.
And that's where you're supposed to stop, right? Go tell that to a 5-year-old and they might believe you. You're not city builders. Look at this shithole you have right here. I've seen tribals that could do way better in the West. And if you think House is just gonna let you roll into his home turf, then you obviously know fuck all about him.
I know he's a coward, hiding behind an army of robots ensconced in that tower of his like a wizard in one of those Grognak comic books. Some say he's a man, others a machine. I don't care. He's in the way.
Oh, that's rich coming from a guy playing dress-up all day long. Glass houses, my friend. You're all just comic book characters to me, too. And I don't know how much homework you've done, but between the boomers and the 3 families, and God knows who else, I'd say you have a lot more than just House standing in your way.
I've analyzed the region's tribe to determine how they might be useful. I may tell you more at a later time, if it suits me.
Hey, don't pretend you know so much more than I do, Mr. Dagger Magnet. I've walked among those tribals while you've been sitting here all day growing bed sores on your buttocks. I saw Benny coming long before you did for a start.
I'll hand it to that piece of shit. He was determined. He used some kind of old-world stealth device to get across the river in a Legion boat. Seems the device ran out of juice once he got here, but he was dressed like a legionary. He was caught just outside the weather station. See, thing is, he didn't change his hairstyle. To go to all that effort and fail because you're too vain to mush your hair.
Wow, you're lecturing someone else about vanity. You? Oh, well, that's it. Now I've seen everything. I suppose the giant golden carving of your face hanging outside your tent is super tasteful, right? You know, at least he had some hair to work with. Is that why you wanted him dead, you envious fuck?
He was brought before me along with the platinum chip. That's how I knew he wasn't some kind of profligate infiltrator. Benny tried to sell me a story, but Lucius has a way of coaxing the truth out of captives. Everything just comes spilling out.
Oh, is that what you did to make him shit himself? Damn it, why didn't I think of that? Well, I guess I'll have to practice my enhanced interrogation techniques on one of your people next time. Oh wait, I already did that with Celus. My bad. He didn't have a good opinion of the NCR before my involvement, and I can only assume it's not going to change your opinion, Andy.
Do you want my opinion as a former citizen or future conqueror? Actually, my opinion's the same either way. As a young man, I was taught to venerate President Tandy of Shady Sands, the founding mother of the new California Republic. Did you know her presidency lasted 52 years? And that her father, Aradesh, was the Republic's first president? Does that sound like a democracy to you? Or a hereditary dictatorship?
Does it matter when people kept voting her back in? Who gives a shit about policies when you just tell them exactly what they want to hear? Holy shit, I sound like a career politician saying that. Forget everything I just said.
Because the council didn't dare oppose her. She was too popular. She had the people's love. So things ran smoothly, more or less. And as soon as she was gone, as soon as there really could be democracy, what happened then? Ever since losing its queen, the NCR has been weaker, more diffuse. Democracy has been its weakness, not its strength.
I think I'd rather blame the incompetence of individuals running the thing rather than the process. I mean, if you have to choose between shit and crap, then all you can say is the one you chose is less brown than the other.
Greed runs rampant. The government is corrupt, accepting bribes from Brahmin barons and landowners to the detriment of citizens. The NCR is a loose conglomerate of individuals looking out for themselves. It's lost virtue. No one cares about the collective, the greater good. It's not built to last. I'm just hastening the inevitable.
By paving the roads with severed limbs and crucified children. Oh man, I can already see the crowds cheering you on the streets of Vegas. But isn't it funny how this broken system can still hold you off for so long? Dare I say it's actually quite powerful?
Of course. The most powerful my legion has faced. Also the first to which I am ideologically opposed. Until now, every tribe I've conquered has been so backwards and stunted, enslavement has been a gift bestowed upon them. My conquest of the Mojave will be a glorious triumph, marking the transition of the Legion from a basically nomadic tribe to a genuine empire. Just as my namesake campaigned in Gaul before he crossed the Rubicon, so have I campaigned and will cross the Colorado.
Except I don't think your namesake got his backside handed to him when he was doing said crossing the first time.
It's not going to happen again, that's all I have to say about it.
Well, that's a pity, because your subordinates pretty much spelled out all the details to me earlier. They might have drawn me a picture if I asked them to. So I guess you're gonna have to crucify them as well. But no worries, I guess your namesake didn't have access to a monster like Lanius.
Lanius is the greatest of my battlefield commanders. Some might call him a great man, but I'm not sure he qualifies. Once, he was the greatest warrior of the Hydebarks, a tribe of the Arizona. Maniacal in battle. Sometimes he'd ambush Legion patrols by himself. When after several months we found and surrounded the Hydebarks camp, their chieftain raised a banner of surrender. The warrior, who was not yet Lanius, went insane with rage. He struck down his chieftain and attacked his own tribe.
Yep, and once he was finished with that, he would finally be able to do the right thing and fight the Legion. He would have had to fight on his own, but hey, I'm sure he could have managed.
He killed 15 before they brought him down. He didn't die, obviously. I had him tended to. He was maimed, most of his face torn off. It was days before he regained consciousness. When he did, I went to his bedside and showed him the helmet I'd had forged to cover his face. I said he could have it if he'd fight for me. He accepted, on condition that he be allowed to kill the surviving males of his tribe. I said, make it the adult males, and you have a deal.
Because that's exactly the sort of man you want to help you build an empire. Just make sure you never run out of people for him to kill. Otherwise, he might turn around and find fresh blood in your own camp. What? Did they not include that bit in the product description? That's what happens when you order a savage.
Lanius is savage. Savagely loyal, too, but only to me. He has no love for my Legion. But this has its uses. He has no attachment to his men, no compunction about battlefield losses. All he cares about is destroying the enemy. When another legatus or a centurion fails to achieve results, I send Lanius to make things right. His first step is to beat the failed commander to death in front of his assembled troops. Then he orders the ritual of Decimation.
Well, since I have no idea what that means, I'm just gonna have to make a few educated guesses. He either makes the soldiers eat the corpse, or make them fuck it. What? You told me he's a savage, so I can hardly expect anything better.
It means decimation. But in ancient Rome, the word had a very specific meaning. A punishment for cowardice. The legionaries are lined up in ranks. Every 10th man steps forward and is beaten to death by his brothers. It instills a certain robust obedience.
A fuckload of use that's gonna be when you reduce your fighting force by 10%. But by all means, do more of that. I'm sure you'll get a thank you letter from the NCR president any day now. But hey, I guess this time if Lanius needs the battle, at least you know one guy isn't gonna run away.
Yes. This time my legionaries will be more frightened of the commander behind them than the enemy before them. There will be no failure this time, no retreat. No years of gathering slaves and resources for another assault. With Lanius to drive the Legion forward, the dam will be taken. It will be our bridgehead across the Colorado.
Oh yes, I guess the Birdman will be rolling in his grave. Or perhaps not, from what I've heard.
And I've heard it's a bad idea to tempt the wrath of Caesar. Change the subject.
Hey, don't shit on me, man. You're the one who told me the guy's name, and everyone else here told me what the Birdman once did. So you can either crucify everyone, or go fuck yourself. And I guess if the rumors are true, then your information isn't so great after all. I don't know what you make your spies do all day long, but they could use some retraining.
Whatever I require. Infiltration, assassination, dramatic atrocities to break the spirit of the enemy, etc. They're mentally flexible. They operate behind enemy lines for extended periods, imitating the enemy's customs without becoming sullied. In all these things, Wolpus is a master.
Are you talking about Doghead over there? Yeah, you better make sure he doesn't go too native when he's on the strip. And by that I mean losing every cap he has on slot machines and cheap women. I would say he looks more subtle than your bodyguards, but hey, you guys all look the same to me when you're bleeding to death.
My Praetorians embody the martial ideals of my legion. Each one of them has done enough conquering and killing to deserve the rank of Centurion. Instead, I invited them to join my guard. So the invitee chooses whichever current guard he thinks is weakest and challenges him. The fight is to the death. It keeps them from getting complacent.
So you're telling me if I could cap the guy in the tent right now, you have to put up with my bullshit forever? And yes, it will be forever. I'll make sure to cap every single new recruit before they can challenge me. Oh man, I know what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the evening.
Lucius has been the head of my guard for 5 years now. He was a subordinate guard for 8 before that. No invitee has dared to challenge him yet. Maybe it's an issue of respect. He is getting on in years.
Oh shit! Do I sense a lack of confidence in his abilities? Maybe I really should have a word with him. Even if I'm not gonna challenge that guy, he should at least be aware that his position is gonna be shaky from now on. Well, there's no way I'm going all the way back across the river at this time of night. I'll think about how to take down House in the morning.
Good. Don't know what kind of security he has inside the Lucky 38, but if you can find a way of catching him off guard, do so.
Oh yeah, that would be super easy. All I would have to do is disable every single Securitar and then somehow kill off all of his tribal informants. After all, my stealth abilities are legendary. Yeah, if you haven't realized it yet, I'm telling you to go fuck yourself. Did you hear that, old man?
Awe, true to Caesar.
Apparently not. Look, I know you're fiercely loyal and single-minded and has a skull that's thicker than my leg, so I'll make this simple.
Yes. Do you have something to report?
Oh, I do, and you're not gonna like it. Call it a hunch, but I think the great Caesar feels like it's time you're getting replaced by someone slightly younger. Look, all I'm saying is, this might be a good time to put a gun under your pillow or whatever you sleep on.
It's a tradition in the Praetorians to specialize in unarmed combat, because weapons can break or jam when needed most. However, our unarmed techniques favor offense over defense. We can charge the enemy and flatten him with our first strike before he can react.
Look, if you want to find out if your fist is faster than a bullet, then be my guest. Just don't say I didn't give you a fair warning. Actually, come to think of it, I do want to see what you meant by all that shit you were talking about earlier. Evidently, if I'm gonna work for Caesar, then I'm gonna have to learn a few things. You won't get another chance to put me in my place.
This will take some time, and I'm not a forgiving teacher.
By the way, I should mention that I have been shot by energy weapons before, so if you try to grapple me and body parts starts falling off, then I'm gonna need those back.